From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
So Chuck Fisher, who's here, in the lovely design tie, which I thought he'd design himself, but he says not. He's a New York designer and painter with about 10 previous books to his credit, many of them pop-up books. You can find his work in the Cooper Hewitt National Design Museum. He's designed china and crystal patterns for Lenox. And what I really like about your 2015 White House pop-up book is that it's got individual hanging chandeliers that open up. It's really fascinating to me. Mark Ramsdell, here at my far right, has been a pastry chef and instructor for more than 30 years, and he was an assistant pastry chef at the White House during the Clinton and Bush years. He was a student of Chef Mesnier's. He met him in 1980 at l'Académie de Cuisine, which is our premier professional culinary academy here in the DC area. And he later became head of that school's pastry chef program himself. So he's been collaborating, basically, he says, carrying Chef Mesnier's things around for many, many years. He lives in Bethesda, and he recently, I think they both collaborated on, if Facebook is right, the 70th wedding anniversary cake for Jimmy and Rosalind Carter. Pretty impressive. So save your questions about that. And then, of course, Chef Mesnier himself has been, I think in 2004, you participated in the festival when it was out on the mall and talked about your Dessert University book, which at that time, I guess you had put together while you were working in the White House in his spare time. Let's see, he's won 18 gold medals, 4 silver and 3 bronze for his pastry creations and competitions around the world. He's a member of the Académie Culinaire de France and the French Legion of Honor, which he earned in 2005. He was inducted that same year into the Chocolate and Pastry Hall of Fame. Like, great. I didn't even know there was such a thing, and it makes me happy to know there is. He was awarded a doctorate of culinary arts from the prestigious Johnson & Wales University in South Carolina, and this would be your 7th book? Yes. So, kind of does it all. What's really fun is just to listen to him speak. So I'm going to make sure that he has a chance to do that. And now I'm turning it over to Chuck Fisher.
Thank you. Thanks, Bonnie. It's great to be here at the National Book Festival, but especially to share the stage with Chef Mesnier and Ramsdell, Chef Ramsdell. And I'm going to talk a little bit, of course I'm going to talk about our new book. Is this going to be on the PowerPoint? Yeah, there we go. The Gingerbread White House pop-up book. And, but before we get to that, I'm going to talk a little bit about pop-up books in general. And so I've done 3 pop-up books with the White House as the theme. This was my first book published by Rizzoli in 2004. And as Bonnie mentioned, this is the book that was published in 2014, actually, by Applewood Press. And this one I designed and created as a dollhouse. So when you turn the book around, and you'll see in the video, that it's open like a dollhouse for the staterooms. And everything is historically correct, and the chandeliers, they are hanging. And all the paintings are there that are in the rooms, and everything was vetted by the curator at the White House. So that is a really fun project. And there are punch-out pieces, as there are in the new book. So I thought maybe this is a video that the Smithsonian Libraries commissioned, and this is about how pop-up books are made. This was for the exhibit Fold, Pull, Pop, and Turn at the Museum of American History. Oh.
An author and artist.
There we go.
And I design pop-up books. It's my pleasure to take part in the Smithsonian Institution Library's exhibition, Paper Engineering, Fold, Pull, Pop, and Turn at the National Museum of American History. Pop-up books cover many subjects. The earliest known examples of books with movable parts date to the 14th century. Just as with those books, modern pop-up books are assembled by hand. From concept to printing, it takes about 18 months to create a new pop-up book. To show you how a pop-up book is created, I'll take you through the process of creating one of the pop-ups in my book, Angels. This book was inspired by my fascination with angels and their images in art and literature. I start by conducting research at museums and libraries such as the Cooper Hewitt National Design Museum in New York City. Based on my research, I create an outline, which includes ideas for pop-ups, an overall visual style for the book, and a draft of the text. Once the outline is complete, I present it to my editor for approval. I hire a writer to assist me with the text. The next step is to sketch ideas for the pop-ups. This pop-up is based on the story of Archangel Gabriel. I collaborate with the paper and... Whoop.
Malfunction.
We love PowerPoint, don't we?
Well,
Should we try to wait? Okay.
wait a sec.
Means we're waiting.
Okay. If not, I can just talk it through. Let's just do that. Marcia, may I have my bag? I actually have some visuals in my whoops. Sorry. Thank you. Oh, here we go. Maybe it'll play again.
I'm Chuck Fisher, an author and artist, and I design pop-up books. It's my pleasure to take part in the Smithsonian Institution Library's exhibition, Paper Engineering, Fold, Pull, Pop, and Turn, at the National Museum of American History. Pop-up books cover many subjects. The earliest known examples of books with movable parts date to the 14th century. Just as with those books, modern pop-up books are assembled by hand. From concept to printing, it takes about 18 months to create a new pop-up book. To show you how a pop-up book is created, I'll take you through the process of creating one of the pop-ups in my book, Angel. No, okay. Let's just do a little show and tell. So, where the video stopped was, so I come up with the concepts. I'm an artist and an author. So I come up with, I do sketches of each spread that's going to be in the pop-up. And then I send these to a paper engineer who I collaborate very closely with on a number of books. I've collaborated with a few paper engineers, but primarily Bruce Foster, who was just going to be on the video talking about his side of the process. But anyway, so Bruce takes my sketches and I sketch them to look like they're three-dimensional, the way I'd like to see them pop up. Then he figures out the engineering, and he does it all by hand, of course, cutting paper, and then he presents to me a white dummy. And this is a pop-up of the White House, the new one, for the gingerbread White House. And this is after the little pieces of the patterns that he sends to me have been refined, and so that we know that the mechanics are working, the engineering. The thing about pop-up books, they have to open and close, open and close. Like origami, it's just like you can create something and leave it out. So it has to be very sturdy. It has to, just be able to do that to open and close. And then this is a packet, and inside the packet we have the book that's written by Chef Mesnier and Chef Ramsdell, and we have punch-out pieces. And so once I receive this, and every piece that makes up that pop-up has to be illustrated. And so that's my next step. And I even happen to bring some of my original paintings
You can come up and look at them later. But so this is what I do. I paint to scale, sometimes a little larger than scale, and that's one side of the White House as it is the gingerbread house. And I didn't bring all the pieces that make up the pop-up, but there's the portico flat, and you can imagine when you see the book how it folds and it creates the three-dimensional White House. And one of the things that we've done with this book is we included a lot of presidential pets, and so I illustrated many of the different presidential pets. Of course, the American flag and a snowman. And here's some more pet illustrations. But anyway, when you see the book and you read the text, it talks a lot about their interactions with the first families and their pets. And it was fun to really feature them in the book. And of course, they make the pets and the decorations on the real gingerbread White Houses out of marzipan and many other things which they'll talk about, and I get to paint them. So anyway, it's very inspirational. I learned a lot about the gingerbread White House from their book. It's just fantastic. Beautiful illustrated coffee table book, which they'll of course be talking about. Now, is the PowerPoint, like, will it go on beyond videos? Because I have some images that I think will be fun to show. Well, this is about the White House Historical Association, this slide. They're the publishers of the book. And it's just such a wonderful organization. And, you know, it's through the sale of books like ours and, of course, the official White House Christmas ornament, and, of course, private donations that go to so many worthy causes, you know, having to do with beautification and, as it says, the appreciation and enjoyment of the executive mansion. So I've been had a long association with the White House Historical Association, actually since my first White House pop-up book, and I created an exclusive line of gift products on the White House neighborhood, and I've also designed for the holiday cards. So, oh, holidays. Well, I love Christmas, I love the holidays, and 3 of my pop-up books are holiday themed. This is Christmas Around the World, and then my bestseller, Christmas in New York, and my last Christmas book before this one is Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. So you can imagine, I love the holidays. So I was just thrilled when I got a call from the White House Historical Association with the idea of creating a holiday-themed book about gingerbread, the White House, and a pop-up. So you can imagine, I said yes right away. And that's when I became, I mean, I already knew Chef Mesnier. We'd been at book signings in the past, and Chef Ramsdell, and I knew their books. But the book that they wrote, their memories and all the recipes, was just so, that's where I just got inspired, and how to create the art for the gingerbread White House. This is a slide of some, I also create interactive book apps of holidays. That was a video, so I'm not gonna even try that one. So this is the cover of our new book, The Gingerbread White House, a pop-up book. And it just came together in a very short amount of time. Like I said in the video, it usually takes 18 months for a book from conception to publication. Anyway, this year, I heard from the association, and we decided that we would do everything possible to make it happen for this Christmas season. And we're thrilled that it's come together, and we have the book. And this is, that's actually a paper Christmas ornament that's in the book. And anyone that's interested, I have also created a little black and white line drawing of that ornament, so that take home in color. And if you'd like to pick one up, I have it when we're signing books later. And of course, here's the book that they're going to be talking about. And this is, on the right, is the cover of the booklet within our pop-up book. And that's where they share their memories. And those are my illustrations of these two very handsome gentlemen. And it's been a fun collaboration. Oh yeah, these are the punch-out. It also comes with punch-out pieces like paper dolls. There's the presidential limousine, the Christmas ornament, some of the pets, Chef Mesnier, and other little objects. So you can interact with the actual pop-up. And there you can see all the pieces on display. And, the goal was just to create holiday magic and joy and for the entire family, and so that you could bring, the beauty and the excitement that happens at the White House every year on a more sort of human scale. And maybe this book will become your own holiday centerpiece. So thank you. Yes, I'd love to show the book. So this is the book. And this is the pop-up gingerbread house. And again, you'll see when you look close, there's a lot of pets surrounding the house. And there's the presidential seal and gingerbread and little Santa with the American flag. And then within here is the booklet with the history and with the anecdotes and with their portraits. And also 2 pages of punch-out sheets. Oh, there. Oh, here we go. And they have little stands so that you can set them up and just play and learn about the history of Christmas and gingerbread houses at the White House. Thanks. Oh, yeah.
Good job.
Thank you, Mark. Chuck, I'm going to be doing that all day. I can just tell you right now, but I really can tell them apart. So I feel like whoever is sitting sort of in this line of sight is going to be listening to me more than seeing me. So I don't usually stand up for things like this, but maybe I guess I better. I have long been fascinated with pop-up books, as I said, but really that process of making it come together with collaborators, because it was just more than the design, of course. It's the story that you have to tell about working in the White House, about cooking there, about creating these incredible masterpieces year after year based on input from who's living at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue at the time. So how do you, let's start off, Chef Mesnier, with you. The differences in sort of winnowing down this very, very complete, with recipes and how-tos, down to pop-up book size. I mean, where do you start?
Well, this is all with your mind. If you know, your mind is very powerful, as you know.
Yours is.
And before you create anything, it better appear in your head. That's the first thing. And you live it before you put it on paper. And the transition from making those huge gingerbread houses to the pop-up book, first of all, come to mind children. You're doing it for the children. So right away, your mind goes back. For me, it's easy because I'm getting old to go back when I was 5 years old. Well, I do that every day anyway. But, you understand that that's really how it is. You have to play the part and feel like one of those kids that comes to Washington for the first time, and I've heard sometimes the family talking about the White House and sometimes the pets and all that, and maybe that day they will be lucky one of the pets may be strolling through the field at the White House and everything, and that's how you take it. And my favorite part of the book, and in the booklet here, is when I give a tour to the children. It's fun. I really was giving a tour to the children. And I can dream up a lot of things, you know. Sometimes a little crazy, or sometimes a little down to earth, but you have to put it together. And that's how you really do go from those huge buildings to presenting something for little kids in much smaller scale by simply changing yourself to a grown-up, to a little kids. That's simple as that.
That's true.
And Chef, you've worked with him such a long time. What's the sort of key to collaborating on an effort like this?
Well, can I talk just about gingerbread houses in general?
Absolutely.
Okay. In both cases, the first book that we did, we wanted to do a book about large gingerbread house construction. You've seen the ones at the White House. You might have seen the ones that we did at Mount Vernon. They all weigh 300 to 500 pounds. Very, very large. And we wanted to bring it into the book such that you could actually do it yourself. So the first book, we used the vehicle of the history of the White House gingerbread houses, is that, and then in the second one, as Chef said, through the eyes of children, right? But the thing that I wanted to say is that in both books, we made sure, because we think it's so important and so much fun, to provide enough material for how one would go about preparing the gingerbread house. We have a couple of basic things that we live by. It doesn't matter how large it is or how small it is, the principles are the same, and the first principle is every single thing must be edible. No TV wood, no TV, PVC pipes, no chicken wire, no glue. Everything has to be edible. So the book includes a very good recipe for gingerbread, and if we're working with a 500-pound White House model, or if I'm working with children in school, it's always the same. After the concept work, we make gingerbread. We're basically making the wood. We could talk for a long time, but I'll just give you a couple little simple things. We start with sheets of gingerbread, just like sheets of wood. But gingerbread has a lot of sugar in it. So if you make your gingerbread nice and flat and dry, even if it's dry and hard on a day like today, humid, the sugar is hygroscopic. It's going to start to absorb the moisture, and sooner or later, the gingerbread is going to become soft again. So we take all of our gingerbread sheets and we put a thin layer of tempered chocolate on the back. Tempering is not a mystery anymore. It's in the books. And that stiffens the gingerbread such that it could be raining outside, and it has several times. Open the door, it's raining, people come in sloshing their feet around. And we also use tempered chocolate to glue the building together. All of the books you see use royal icing, a white icing, but white icing dries out and becomes very brittle, and then everything falls apart. The other part of the book, and then I'll stop talking, is that as pastry chefs, we have sort of tools available to us. Chuck mentioned it. We have marzipan, and we have royal icing, and we have chocolate, and we have rolled fondant, and so forth and so on. So that's where the concept, either at chef's size, the whole White House, or with a child, you simply say, let your mind go. And then when your mind goes, take a look at Chuck's pop-up books, my God. Then you take a look at your marzipan and your chocolate and your royal, and you say, what fits? What can I make out of what things? You make your production plan, and 3 months later, you're putting it together. All edible.
All right, so I'm leaping way, way ahead here, but I bet somebody in this room wants to know what happens to those great gingerbread houses that you made every year. Where did they go? Did people in the kitchen get to break them down and eat them for family meal?
The mice.
Mice?
No. Where do they go, Chef?
Well, I decided when I started to do, let's backtrack a little bit. You know, the White House in gingerbread, when it got started at the White House through a German chef. Many years ago, he did the classical A-frame house like it was done in Germany for many years. It was a small house, relatively small. But they were nevertheless, they were very attractive, very nice. But when I started to do that, I wanted to go much larger. I wanted to change many, many things. And that was the first question the first year when I took it over. I said, what are you going to do with that after Christmas? Well, when I came to the house and then I did just that on top of the roof, and I saw how much dust we had collected, I said, no one is going to heat that house. over my dead body. It's
So-
going to go right down the trash.
It's up for how long? It's
1
on
month.
display a month.
1 month.
Yeah.
And remember, you have thousands and thousands of people going through those dining room. You know, some sneeze, some do. Who knows what they do, you know. You know, by the way, did you hear the newest story now in California? They invented a whistle for the cow when they pass wind. You can listen to that. I'm not kidding you. This is your government at work. So I came up with a bright idea. Maybe we do the same thing at the White House when everybody goes through the line. We'll just give them a little whistle, you know, psst, 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 and then we'll know who passes gas into the dining room. You know. That's a side story, but it's true. What I told you is the fact. Check it out. Governor Brown signed the bill, by the way, okay? It's not a joke. But that's where we are now, and you know, there's no other problem, I guess, to tackle. We tackle the wind that the cow are passing in the field. Okay, very good, very good. Now, the thing that I will come back to reality now, the gingerbread book has a lot of new technique in it that you need to check out. Like we came up with a gingerbread veneer. Like, let's say if you have to do like a tower or something that curve, it's very difficult to bake without cracking or anything a piece of gingerbread that will be just perfect, looking like a tower or rounded area. So
You're talking about this book, Chef?
yes, I really this is the year I did the huge castle during the Clinton administration. There were several towers. And I really said, you know what, those towers, how are we going to make them really, really looking like a tower, very nice and round. And I tried several techniques and I couldn't do it at all. So then I realized, I said, you know, if I get a piece of gingerbread, can't find me the goddamn tower, will you? Thank you. I don't have much patience. Patience doesn't come in big supply for me. So I realized that if I would bake the gingerbread particularly fully, but not drying it, and then after, with a bandsaw, cutting some very thin pieces, then you can bend them any way you want and let them dry, and then paint your chocolate in the back, and there you have. Again, you haven't cheated. It's still good food all over. It's still nice, and it looked beautifully. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for your help. No, that's not a tower. That's the Washington Monument you're giving me. So just to say, so that really came up. And then, remember, the White House has those balcony. You know, the half-round of the balcony. That was another thing that was fairly difficult to make it look just perfect. And that veneer really was the answer to that. By using the gingerbread while it's still plywood, was cut through a band. You need a bandsaw for that. You need a bandsaw. And I'm sorry, I can't get up because I'm tied up to the seat here, you know. Thank you, thank you. So there you go. This was the castle that we did at the White House this year. And you can see several towers, round towers, and that's how we made those towers, by using the gingerbread veneers, okay? So there it is in this book. And there are other things in the book that was really a first that we applied this year for that gingerbread book.
And when you two are working together, does somebody do all the royal icing and somebody does the baking, or how do you sort of break up the...
Whoever has time. Somebody need a job, somebody time, okay, that is the next step, that's what we're going to do. And whatever, we don't care who has time for what, right?
Then that's when it's crunch time. There are lots of hands
Crunch time, I like that.
in
Crunch time,
the
very
right
good.
place, and
You know, it's just,
Are you making them in your own home kitchens when you have to do them for events?
we usually will go to a larger oven to be able to, because 300 pounds of gingerbread is many full-size sheets of gingerbread. The thing I wanted to say, Chef, about ideas and so forth is that if we said that there's no wood or whatever, go to the inside of the houses. The structural elements are just like in this building, but they're gingerbread. So, for example, if we need an I-beam for strength, we make it out of gingerbread. And just like plywood is strong by gluing thin layers of wood together, we do it with gingerbread. And that's how we do it.
Yes.
And Chuck, are you working from photos? Have you gotten to see this? Does it help for you to see anything in person? And for their likenesses too. Did they sit for you for the book?
Well, they didn't sit for me, but I had some wonderful photographs.
Yeah, I think
and
you've
of
done a
course,
very good job.
I know them.
They
So-
look-
And
they look
last time we were together, we actually we had a picture taken, and that was very helpful. And so that's how I came up with their painting their portraits for the cover of the booklet.
And you're working in sort of what size?
I'm working sort of same scale as the book. Very, very fine work, very, very, thin, special paint brushes. And my medium is I mix acrylic with latex paint, actually. And I can actually, that way I can get an opaque look, or I can also have it very washed in watercolor. There's, of course, a lot of strong color in this because it is, it's decorated with candies and it is a holiday. So, I got to work with, as opposed to some of my more traditional architectural paintings and some other work, this was really fun because it was really bright and strong. And like both chefs said, it's just looking at all the photographs of gingerbread houses that they've created, other gingerbread houses, and then just being very familiar with Christmas candies. And so, I just used my imagination, and I didn't copy one of their houses. We created a new one just for the book.
Aha.
Yeah, with elements coming from all of their past designs.
Mark, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, the thing that just crosses my mind is that I suspect that most of you have done something with gingerbread, but it's the concept that Chuck's talked about and chefs talked about. If you haven't done a gingerbread house with a child, do it, and don't control it. I do a lot of gingerbread houses with schools, first graders, second graders, kindergartners. They have fully functioning minds. And I go in ahead of time because we know we're going to make a gingerbread house, but I don't tell them what it is. And I simply say, what are we going to do? Huddle, talk. So out of the blue, 2 years ago, it's going to be a castle. Now, I don't know what Disney movie they were watching. I don't know what book they were reading, but, when they said castle, you know what I said? What's a castle look like? Up to the board, pens, whatever, and then gives you a chance to take it back, see if it'll come out in gingerbread, see if it'll come out in marzipan, back to them, help them put it together. They have great ownership in it, and they really love what they produced.
So I guess you're not a fan of those kits that are everywhere now. I mean, even for Halloween, it's gotten really big, the whole gingerbread house thing, to put them together.
They don't come decorated. You got to figure out what you're going to do with them, so it's a start.
Those kits are great, by the way.
Yeah.
I use it as a house for my cat.
Does a cat eat gingerbread? So,
They do. There's a picture of Socks here on the book, eating the big gingerbread house.
I remember Sock.
Yes, he's in the book. There's a picture there, yes.
In addition to the recipe for gingerbread, you can make a couple big sheets, and they've really worked it down to a very simple equation. There's a couple of holiday cutout cookies and those snowballs, they're called. Lots of different things in different cuisines. I love them. They've got nuts and nut flour in them, and they're covered in, powdered sugar. Those are also recipes that you can find in this booklet within the pop-up book. And they'll be signing them at 2:30 in line 2. I forgot to mention that earlier, so
Hey,
got
Bonnie.
that out of the way.
I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
In the book, we also have a scratch and sniff gingerbread.
Oh, that's
ad.
right. Scratch and sniff.
So, very excited about that. So you can really immerse yourself,
Yeah.
all your senses.
Much better than those perfume samples I used to.
Yes.
So I think pretty soon we're going to open it up to questions, so if you want to line up, don't be shy. In the meantime, in terms of people getting started doing their own at home, you've got the masters, the experts right here, so what would be like the key thing you would tell people to do it at home?
Well, start with a small project first of all.
Should they sort of do a small one before they work up to the
Oh
holiday
yeah,
thing?
definitely, small project, and don't be too ambitious, okay? I know people, they see a picture, oh, that will be beautiful, let's do it. No, slow down here.
You don't have to do a
You
whole
know,
house. You can
yeah.
do a facade. You can
Yeah.
do a shadow box, you know?
Start with that, and then you can grow every year. It's fun to every year, Christmas time, to improve your design from the years before, and bringing new thing, new twist into the house and all that. That's very exciting. I mean, bringing the children into that process is really fantastic. Is the best thing you can do with the family, you know.
I would imagine you guys have both judged gingerbread competition. What's the sort of craziest thing you've seen made out of gingerbread?
Well, those competition a lot of the time include too many fake stuff in it.
Ah,
And for me to be a judge of that, it's very difficult because that's not the way I do things. I don't care what it is I do. I like to have real food, use real food, you know. And when somebody bring in something made out of gingerbread with pearl hanging around and stuff, say, no, wait a minute, get those pearl out of here, okay? We don't want that. We don't want, if you're going to make pearl, make them out of sugar. That's it.
okay.
It may be very complicated, that sound very difficult, but actually we are food people. You want to make other pearl, then get into that kind of business, which is another line of work here.
Okay.
I don't, oh, I guess it's on. A question for either chef. When you're baking gingerbread for the gingerbread house or anything, do you ever have flops or even making pastries for, when you're doing pastries for the White House dinners, do you have flops and what happens?
You always have flops. You always have flops. I taught for several years. Chef taught for several years. In the avocational side of pastry, it was very interesting. People were drawn to taking classes because of the implied precision of pastry. Pastry recipes are very detailed in terms of a quarter teaspoon of this and 7 minutes of that and so forth and so on. And that's not the way the world works. Chickens don't lay the same size eggs, and I don't care whose oven you have, it bakes differently, you know. So you just have to sort of, with us, you just sort of have to figure out how your oven is baking that day, or just make adjustments and work with it. Yes, sir?
Well, I never had flops.
Of course not.
I've been trying for 50 years, and it's a curse, ladies and gentlemen. I just can't.
Nobody's renamed a lot of things.
It's just a
I
curse.
thought it was a souffle.
But you know, my philosophy on that is very simple, and you should try it, it works. Don't try it with children when they're home or around you, but it does work. When you want to bake a cake or something, I know you're going to be nervous, very nervous. What you do, you get yourself the best bottle of wine you have in the house, and you open it and you have a glass. And then you do your baking. And then if all else fail, you finish the bottle. After a bottle of wine, everything looks good. Even your spouses start to look good. So do it, it works. Trust me, it works.
Then you go to Bourbon.
When you're working for a young first family, the Obamas or the Clintons maybe, do you create an edible or a decorative smaller gingerbread house for the private quarters? And second question, do any of the children, the Obama girls, Chelsea, ever work with you in the kitchen or observe you making the gingerbread house? Or anybody in the first family help you? Michelle?
Yes.
I mean, anybody else? Yeah.
Well, yeah, many occasions that's how it's done, depending on the age of the children.
Right.
I remember for Amy Carter, we always did a second house that she would have in her bedroom just for herself and all that. She loved that. But then some of the children, when I was there, were past that age.
Right.
So we didn't do it, okay? Children from the family, like Chelsea, you mentioned Chelsea Clinton. She was just in her age getting ready to go to college, you know, university and everything. And she did come to the pastry shop to learn how to bake and make some dessert. She brought even a couple friends with her. And she was a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, I was really amazed to see how much she knew, because there were some finished product on the table and stuff. And she called them all by name and knew what they were and knew what they were made of. And I said, wow, you know, I was really impressed for a young girl that age that she would know that much. And a lot of them had French terms, like frangipane and brioche. And I mean, young people really know that in this country, you know, unless you've been really affiliated with some baking or doing something.
So maybe Hillary was baking cookies?
Maybe, I will never tell. But we always wanted also Chelsea to do the dessert for the family that night. Will be a pie or something fairly simple, and something she can use while she would be in college. And that night she could wheel out whatever she did and tell her parents and whoever was there at the time, grandma, grandpa, and then said, listen, I did that for you for your dinner tonight, you know. And she was very proud of that.
That's really nice. Thank you.
Okay.
Chef Messier, I loved your memoir. And my question is, what did the Carters have as their 70th anniversary cake?
Oh, yeah, that was, Chef Mark was part of that too. The reason I wanted to get involved with that, first of all, they called me for that. And I was very excited, but I said, you know, I need to see if Mark is going to be part of it because those projects can be very consuming and, you know, and I'm not, I've been in the kitchen for 60-some years, so you get the rest of the story here. I'm kind of getting tired a little bit sooner than I used to, so I need all the help I can get. And then so we decided on making a carrot cake, because that was one of their famous cake, and Mark has a fabulous recipe for that, with a nice, very good icing. What was the icing, Mark, remember? There was the cream cheese and buttercream, light buttercream, Italian buttercream. And then the decoration of the cake was a miniature White House chocolate house, because they had been at the White House, of course. And then all the other decoration around the cake was the flower from magnolia, made of gum paste, magnolia flower, which Georgia and all that. And then a nice little plaque, happy 70th anniversary, President and Mrs. Carter. And they really, really were very touched that we came to their function for that. That was in Annapolis. And I was amazed to see also how fantastic they were. I mean,
90 years old, first on the dance floor.
First on the dance floor. And, you know, 10 good minutes. I said, you know, that's an inspiration, there's no doubt, you know. So it was a beautiful event, very, very nice, and we were very glad and proud to be part of it.
That's great.
Really nice people.
Anybody else? I know we're coming up against the end here, but you know, it's funny. Speaking of the dessert thing in the White House, Chef, I had to ask you, from the previous book, you had said something like, in Washington, you had never encountered so many people who would pass up a slice of chocolate cake or creme brulee. They were interested in low fat, low whatever. You know, has that changed?
You know, this is the calorie thing in dessert is a sore subject sometimes, and is a subject that people, you know, I have a hard time telling people that yes, there are some low-calorie desserts that are still done with butter and cream and all that stuff. People have a problem understanding that. And I'm going to explain that, and if someone don't understand, they can go get my book, Dessert University. It tells you all about the low-calorie dessert in this book. You can eat dessert every day. I mean, look, remember Mrs. Reagan? You remember when she came to the White House? How slim she was? When she went back home, she was just as slim. Mrs. Reagan was one of the first ladies that never skipped dessert. Okay? Never, ever, ever.
Let's hear it for dessert.
But there was a certain style of dessert I gave her. I understand very quickly what she wanted. She wanted dessert to be very tiny, first of all, a couple spoons. She wanted them extremely pretty. Mrs. Reagan hated what she called gray food. If you gave her a plate where everything looked gray and dark, get that out of here. She wanted happy dessert. But whatever was on the plate better be food. And don't use fresh flour, please. Not for her, okay? Fresh flour, she would say, belong in the vase, in the middle of the table. And she was all right. She was all right. If the pastry chef cannot make his own decoration, then he has no business being a pastry chef. That's what I'm saying here, okay? Do you understand where I'm coming from here? Everything. And I can show you, at home, I have thousands of pictures that never been published. Thousands of pictures of luncheon for Mrs. Reagan, luncheon for Mrs. Bush, this and that for ladies and so. And you can see what I serve them, to the length I want to create decoration for them, but all made out whatever pastry, okay? So she wanted that. That was her dessert. Couple of spoon, very tasty, very colorful. And if you didn't like it, you heard about it, let me tell you. Because Mrs. Reagan was a little bit like me. She spoke her own mind. So we went along very well, by the way, because of that. But yes, you can have low-calorie dessert that are good for you. Now, what most people have a problem understanding is not what's in the recipe that counts, is how you work with it. I will give you a simple example. You all know about vanilla sauce or custard sauce. You know that sauce that you get with dessert sometimes. Now that sauce, first of all, when you get it, should be nice and thick. Not because you put cornstarch in it, not because you put butter in it, not because you put heavy cream in it, because of the technique that you use to do it. I can make you a vanilla sauce using 2% milk, and that sauce will look like it was made with whipped cream, with heavy cream. This is the technique I use. That's what most people do not understand still today. Everybody thinks that it has to be this and that, cornstarch. No, 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 no. These things don't exist. I don't use stuff like that. And you can look through the book, you get all the explanation. And this is a good subject to talk about because everybody wants to lose weight, but still want to enjoy a great dessert. And there's no reason why you cannot do that.
Chef Mark, you had something you wanted to add?
No, I was fascinated with his.
You're a very good foil, I would say. All right, we've got to wrap it up. Thank you very much, Chuck Fisher, Chefs Messnier and Ramdell. And thank you very much, audience. Thanks for coming. Enjoy the rest of the day. Be sure and get the book. It's really it's amazing to see.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.